Good day, everyone, and thank you so very much for joining me virtually. I am very sorry that I wasn't able to be there today, but I am very, very excited to be able to bring you the information in this format. So today, our objectives, we're going to be talking about the 7 Eden alternative domains of well-being and really look at how we can apply those and how they actually support the regulatory compliance. And then we're going to end by talking about 3 ways that your care teams can assess well-being and use these results to frame their solutions to a lot of your care challenges, and especially as we're looking at care planning. A little bit about me. I am a nurse. I'm also an administrator. I'm an Eden associate, an Eden educator, mentor, and guide, and I have no personal or commercial conflicts of interest. So, the domains of well-being, while the person-centered model of care challenges our attitudes, beliefs, and values, it also redefines how we measure the quality of outcomes. So most of the outcomes, the quality measures, what we see publicly reported, really are looking at quality of care issues. They really aren't telling us about life worth living. And so one of the things that we did way back in 2009 was actually say, what is this physical, mental, and psychosocial well-being? The regulations demand it, but even CMS doesn't know how to define it. So I'm not going to read this. We've all seen this statement, and we know that all the regulations begin this way. But one of my questions always was, what is practicable? When this first came out, I thought CMS couldn't spell, but I looked it up, and practicable actually means that if you are an artist, a carpenter, a fisherman, a chef, whatever you are living within your body, we have to find it. What are you able to practice? If there's a prayer, a joy, an unfilled dream tucked deep inside of one of our elders, we need to find a way to draw it out and make it happen for them. So the Eden alternative solution is asking those questions. What are the components of well-being? What do we need? What do you need to experience contentment? And so we had a group of people, excellent experts in the field, that actually came up with our 7 domains of well-being. And we talk about identity, growth, autonomy, security, connectedness, and meaning. And I'll go through each one of these as we get there. Bill Thomas said, well-being is a much larger idea than either quality of life or customer satisfaction. It's that holistic understanding of human needs and capacities. It's elusive, it's highly subjective, but it's also the most valuable of all human possessions. We're going to go through each one of these 7 domains and talk about them a little bit, and then we'll connect them to some of the regulations. We actually had a handout for you that shows you how many times all of these are listed in the new regulations. So as we look at this, we also Dr. Al Power, that wrote Dementia Beyond Drugs and Dementia Beyond Disease, believes real firmly that these are almost like Maslow's old pyramid, where you have to have the foundation ones to build your way up. So again, the base would be identity and connectedness. And once we have these, or the elder has these and feel them strongly, then they can move up to feeling secure and having some choice. So as we look at the new regulations and they talk about autonomy and choice and all those things 450 times, we can offer the elder the choice. We can offer them some of this autonomy, but they truly aren't going to be able to embrace it, and they're not going to exercise it if they don't feel a connectedness, or they don't feel that they have a sense of identity in there. And we really believe that once you have the first four, once you have strong sense of identity, connectedness, security, and autonomy, meaning growth and joy just kind of flow um, from those. So, what are we talking about with identity? This is your history, your individuality, but it's about your personhood. Many times, I mean, we all know on when we are welcoming a new elder into our community, we ask them a lot about their history, but do we really ask them about their personhood, who they really are? Um, you know, we're supposed to ask them about their goals and that kind of thing. But what else do we need to know about them? And I think, as we looked at it and as the new regulations received comments back and forth, they really are giving us almost an example of how we should be doing things. With the new survey process, the long-term care survey process, that's what LTCSP stands for. The very first thing that they do is they have a 13-page resident interview, care areas, and probes that they have to do with the elders that they're going to be interacting with during the survey. They spend the first 20 minutes of their day, or 20 minutes with the resident on the first day of the survey, just getting to know them. Shouldn't we do the same thing? As we look at those, this might be a really nice time for you to stop the recording and just think to yourself, or if you're watching this with some other people, what would be 3 questions we could be asking them that would pretty well mirror what the surveyors are asking? The very first piece that they ask about is choices and activities. There are 7 or 8 questions. Couldn't we use those same questions and learn a little bit more about them? Especially when it comes to some of the choices about lifestyle and what you like. What if I were to come to live in your home? I would fully expect that the very first question that you ask me is, what time do you want to get up in the morning? I am not a morning person. My bedtime, if I have my choice, is sometime between midnight and 2, and I like to rise somewhere between 9 and 10 in the morning. Would you know that when I first got there, or are you going to rip me out of bed at 7 a.m. because it's time for breakfast or time for therapy? And again, it's all about the choices. Maybe when I come in, my goal will be to say, I really don't care what time I get up. If I'm going to get therapy and I'm going to get home and I'm going to get, and that kind of thing. But again, it's just the question of respecting my time frame. and what I should be doing. So this is all about relationship building. Respect goes two ways. So if we want to gain the trust and the respect of our elders, we also need to become well known to them. So what do the elders learn about the care partners in the first few minutes or the first day that they're caring for them? I would like to know a little bit more about the person who's going to be providing intimate care or helping me walk and some of those things other than whatever is on their name badge. And hi, I'm Vicki. I'm going to be your nurse today. Well, who is Vicki? And just a couple of things that we can look at. So again, I'd like to just talk a little bit about bringing that identity forward. And again, I'll connect this all to the regulations in a little bit. But do you have any kind of welcoming rituals that helps the new care partner, whether it's an elder, whether it's an employee, whether it's a family member, that you learn about them and they learn about us? Think a little bit about the conversations that are happening, especially when someone is new to our communities. Elders, how do we talk about them during report, or how are we introducing them, a new elder, to the care team, to the care partners? And again, the care partners are the helping people to become well known. If I'm a brand new employee, who introduces me to all the other care team members, and what do you tell them about them? And again, how are we doing some of this in writing and those pieces about it? So again, as we're talking, and the moral of this story, I think, is we need to focus very highly in our daily conversation, should be talking about who that person is, center around their identities, and really look at who that person is. We still need to talk about the medical and the personal part of it, but once again, you can say, Vicki is our new care partner. She lives in room 2. She is not an early riser, so her therapy is scheduled for 10:30 this morning. So we're talking about my identity, what I like, and that kind of thing, but we're also putting the medical piece into it. And then just to show some of the F tags, because I promised you this, even though they're on a separate handout, things that talk about identity. And we went through and actually did a PDF file search of these. And the F tag for restraints references the elder's identity. Resident assessment, it's all through it, who they are, and that kind of thing. 675 is the environment supporting my culture. Who am I? Does the environment reflect that? And who I am, especially my personal space. And resident history is mentioned 25 more times in various regulations. So again, my history, who I am. I'm not the disease, but I may be someone who's living with that disease. The next one is connectedness. And so when we're doing person-directed care, we want to reconnect our elders with their past, present, and future. We want to connect them with their new environment, with their hopes, with their dreams. So they need a care partner relationship. We now become their family, their confidants, their support. So again, the connectedness goes two ways. We want to really encourage people to build relationships, creating a home space that is filled with meaningful items. Yes, we still have to have much of the medical equipment, but what is meaningful to them so that they have that peace with them and have those connections. Sometimes the connection pictures and those can actually connect them to other people who recognize some of those. And it's as it becomes much more possible as we get to know each other's stories, connecting us back to that identity piece. Having relationships with others, whether they're plants, animals, kids, is all part of our well-being. We want to belong. We need to feel engaged and like we belong there. It was interesting, one elder that I met actually said, instead of saying thank you to someone all of the time, I would like to do something for them and be able to say, you're welcome, when they say thank you to me. So it's all about, do I feel like I really belong here, or am I just sort of stuck here? And so again, in that very first 20 minutes that the surveyors are spending with them, they're asking them about their connectedness, about their involvement. So are we including the elder in decisions about their medicine, their therapy, or other treatments? So are we documenting all of that? Are you or a person of your choice invited to participate in setting goals and planning your care? And again, I think there's a misconception, at least here in Michigan, it may not be nationwide, but there's a real disconnect, I think, with the regulations where all of the sudden now people are thinking we've got to get people, all these hundreds of people now in the room for care planning. So we've got every discipline there, and we've got the elder, we've got their family member, we've got their care partner, direct care partners, we've got their nurse care partner, we've got all these people in the room. And that it's just, how do we involve them? If they don't want to come to care conference, they still have to be involved. And all we have to do is be documenting the conversations that we have every day, and let them know that we're going to carry this forward to their care plan, and that, and the surveyors actually ask him, can you tell me how that meeting went? And so should we not, can't this be part of our customer satisfaction? I think CMS is giving us some gifts and some things that we should be asking in the very beginning. They also are going to be asked them about community discharge. So again, have we talked to them about that, and do they know? Because what several times again, it's that I'm involved, I get to be part of this. We may be doing all the referrals, we may be doing a lot of discharge planning behind the scenes, but it shouldn't be behind the scenes. It should be in with the elder on the right in the same room as we're making some of these referrals, or at least we go back and we talk to them, so they feel like they're very, very involved. I had a good friend who was recently in a nursing home, and she went home against medical advice simply because nobody would call her Miss Smith. She'd been a school teacher for years. No one that was 10 years younger than her had ever called her by her first name, let alone honey or sweetie. So that was her sense of identity. but they also had never ever even asked her about her home and that kind of thing is when it came for discharge. Matter of fact, they hadn't even asked her if she wanted to go home or not. So again, bringing the connectedness forward. So again, how many times are people connecting regularly? And, how do we make sure that these connections are being shared and that we build on all of this becomes very, very important. And I know it's going to sound like I want to do a lot more documentation, but a lot of times we have some real typical things that we document every single day that may not be as meaningful as documenting the conversation that we just had um, with the elder. So here are the F tags that reference connectedness. Were you involved? Were you engaged? And so again, we're going right down to the decision makers who can make the decisions for you, chemical restraints, care planning, discharge planning, incontinence, hydration, bed rails, psychotropic meds. So again, all of these things we're supposed to be have them involved in and be documenting that involvement and their decision making. Security, these are pretty much the words that we pulled from the regulations for this. But, so security does talk about a little bit about identity and connectedness, but it really takes it up a level to include your right to privacy, dignity, and respect. So, as I mentioned, my friend, Miss Smith, she really didn't feel that she was getting the respect that she deserved. And again, many times the person or the elder who is receiving services finds their space becoming a public place. And how secure would you feel? And, one of the examples that we use in the Dementia Beyond Drugs training is how safe would you feel at home if you had to leave all of your front door unlocked and all of your neighbors could just wander in and out of your house at any time? So when you move in and when an elder moves in with us, do they feel safe with people strangers, just coming into their room at any point in time? And we all have elders who like to explore, but one thing that I heard that was a real aha moment for me is, are the elders who like to explore, are they simply mimicking our behavior? Are we knocking, waiting to be invited in, and then entering rooms? And I'm talking all staff all employee care partners, even if we know that the elder isn't living in there. Our housekeepers, our other people just coming in and out and in and out of every room, because our elder living with memory issues may simply be doing what they see almost the most people doing and going in and out. They might not be looking for things. So I think that that's a piece to think about. So, and we really have to look at security, that what we're trying to do to keep people safe doesn't infringe on other people's rights and choices. So what are they going to ask in the first 20 minutes? And right away, do the staff treat you with respect and dignity? Do you have concerns about this? Do you have concerns about how they treat other residents? And again, if you have you shared that, and what happened? How often do we ask our elders this very basic question? Do you feel safe here? Do you feel secure here? Are you being treated with dignity and respect? Or are we assuming, because no one has complained, that they feel like they're being treated with that dignity and respect that they deserve? And there's more to this as we start to look at security and that and into the regulations. We look at abuse, we look at resident to resident interactions. It's in privacy, it's in personal funds, it's in property, it's insufficient staffing, it's in the environment. They need to feel secure and safe in all of those. So again, how are we uncovering these anxieties and fears, especially if we're not asking them? And are the care partners sensitive enough to look at the dignity and the privacy of individuals? Sometimes I think that um, almost have to go overboard or look at each individual person for what may not offend one person's dignity or may not feel respectful. I may like for all of the staff to call me grandma, but how does that get communicated to my roommate who wanted to be called Miss Smith, and therefore she thinks that they're being disrespectful to me and that they're disrespectful at times? And again, how comfortable are they in their physical space? And are we honoring that? I was helping with an associate training yesterday, and one of the things that we were actually talking about is who arranges where my personal items are in my room, who unpacks me when I move in, who puts my clothes away, and that kind of thing, so that, do you know where I want things and what should be in my physical space? And these are all of the F tags that reference security or mention the word fear. So again, they're all connected in here. So if you're addressing their security needs, you should be clear on most of these F tags. Autonomy, as I said, this is the one that's 450 times throughout the regulation. So again, what we really mean by this is to be respected for my ability to decide for myself, control my life, and absorb the costs and the benefits of my choices. So, without this, we end up back to the paternalistic or the maternalistic, I know best, I know how to care for you. And again, this one is a real balancing act. We have to choose between what we think is good for them and pre-selected for them and what they want. And there are resources on the Pioneer Network that talk about how to do some of these informed choices, especially when elders are making choices that are different from ours. And I can give you the example of a typical diabetic, which I am. We probably have been doing this for years, but I am a diabetic. I love food. I love sweets. As I get older, the only taste buds I'm going to have left towards the end are sweet. So do you think if I'm 90 years old and I'm a diabetic and I need insulin, that my goal is going to be to have my A1C under 8, and that I want to be on a restricted calorie? I want you to watch my want you to choose my snacks and that kind of thing. You know, absolutely not. My goal is to be happy eating whatever I choose on each and every day, and I'm expecting you to give me extra insulin coverage when I need it, or something along those lines. So again, you'll see these throughout all of it. And so what is the surveyor going to ask them when they first came in? Are you able to make choices about your daily life that are important to you? And I think these questions all come off the MDS. And this is where you may get flagged with some MDS discrepancies if the MDS says one thing and um, they interview and say another. And I think one of the real key things are choices that are important to you. So if I say, it really isn't important to me to choose what time I go to therapy, just let me know, then I've agreed that it can be on your schedule. So they ask you about getting up and going to bed, bathing, do you get to choose how often? Very, very basic questions. What about food? What about activities? What about meds? Are you able to get your meds when you want to? I recently was working with a gentleman who had some pretty serious congestive heart failure issues, and he was consistently refusing his medications. So I went in and I asked him, tell me a little bit about you. And he told me that he was a widower and he lived alone. And he was telling me a little bit about his whole daily routine and that kind of thing. And I said, so what do you know about your congestive heart failure? And that man could tell me more about congestive heart failure than I could remember from a textbook. And I said, so why aren't you taking your meds? He said, I want them at 4:30 in the afternoon. And he said, that's how I always took them at home. And I said, and so what's happening here? And he said, the nurse says I have to have them at 9 o'clock. They're daily medications and I have to take them at 9 o'clock. And I told her I will take them once a day at 4:30. If you bring them back at 4:30, I'll take them. And they never bring them back. So I think, that's another example of still staying stuck in daily meds have to be first thing in the morning. Nope. Daily is once in a 24-hour period. So, we had to have a discussion, and obviously they changed all of his meds to 4:30 in the afternoon. Choosing your doctor, choosing your visitors, and that kind of thing are all there. So how do we bring this autonomy forward and let them have that truly make decisions? So are we asking them, some in some of the homes that I go in, they have taken some of these basic MDS questions and some of them from this long-term care survey, and the care partner who's going to be providing them with their direct care, who's going to be engaging with them the most on their consistent assignment, ask these questions during the welcoming process within the first 3 or 4 hours. And they're really in there, we're helping them, they're working with them and communicating the information about the decisions. And again, how do care partners uncover assumptions? that cause us to limit choices. So again, as I was in the example I just gave, the assumption was all daily meds have to be at one time. And I think getting into ethics committees and some of that, how does the care partner team handle decisions or handle situations when poor choices are made? So again, it's all about the team getting together that would include the elder and talking about those choices that we're making a judgment may be poor, and how can we get there. So, and another piece, especially for the staff care partners, are when there is a mistake that happens. Is this an opportunity for punishment, or is it an opportunity for growth? Do we talk about it? Do we get to the root cause, or we figure out how to grow it together? And as we look at that, and again, as I mentioned, there's 450 references to autonomy choices and preferences. So the next piece is meaning. And again, meaning is about hope, purpose. What is significant? What's of value to me? Becoming engaged, staying involved with a purpose. So it's not about keeping me entertained 24/7. It's about giving me some kind of meaning and some kind of purpose. There's a story that I've heard about World War II POWs, and what they were asked to do every day in this German prison camp is there were boulders and rocks that had to be rolled from the bottom of the hill and carried and rolled, and however they could get them to the top of the hill. And at nighttime, they would hear the heavy machinery bringing all of the rocks, everything they had done the day before, back down to the bottom. And the next day, it would be the same thing. And this prison camp had the highest escape or attempted escape rate of any of the other prison camps. And at first it was sort of, well, everybody hated the work, nobody wanted to be there. But we really thought people just simply had to get away from work that had no meaning to them. They had destroyed all of their purpose, and they would rather die than having to roll that same rock back up that same hill. One more time. So again, how does this all connect us back to the new regulations and the survey process? It's the activities piece. And again, do you get to participate in activities here? And if not, why? So they are going to ask them why. Have we asked them why? Or do we just say they prefer independent activities? And do they meet your interests? Do we even know what their interests are? The typical, they've always asked, are they offered on weekends and holidays? Do they provide you with activities that you can do on your own? They also are going to ask if you are in the facility for rehab or have a young resident who says they don't care. They have to find out, is it because they don't interest them, or would they not participate no matter what was issued, what was offered? So again, when someone is declining the activities, or they're saying they don't want it to participate, are we even asking them why? And I think that there's a really good, another story that I have that I think really brings this meaning part out, and why we try to do some meaningful things. Surrounds a lady who was in a nursing home, and they locked the dining rooms at 7 o'clock, and they couldn't play. They had plenty of cards and Monopoly and all that, but they felt that the elders needed their sleep. And so they weren't able, the reason that they weren't participating in independent was simply because they couldn't get to the materials. So I think we have to look at that. And so how do we bring meaning forward within our communities? And so again, how do care partners learn each stories about each other and when they find meaning in life? Do we know about both the elder care partners and the employee care partners? Do we know about their anniversaries, their birthdays, when one of their kids, grandkids, great grandkids graduates from high school, college, all those big, meaningful, purposeful things? Do we know about those? And do we have some time for celebration and reflection and that kind of thing? How are we celebrating birthdays? You know, my birthday's always been really special to me, and I want a special celebration with my few friends on my birthday. I don't want a birthday party with 50 other people, and 10 of them also had a birthday in the same month. And the same way with memorials. Do you think that the elders and the care partners really want to have a way to celebrate the life of someone who passed? What about a roommate who has spent the last 2 years with someone? Do they get to be part of that celebration of life and have time to do their grief? Or if they don't, how do they think we feel about them and that they're going to be forgotten? What about just individuals' goals are achieved? When someone graduates from therapy, do we have a party? Do we have a graduation ceremony? I work with homes where they do that. What about art shows internally, talent shows, story time, where elders just share their stories? And we move on to that. F tags that reference meaning and purpose. Excuse me. Activities, adjustment to the facility, and dementia care. So I should point out right now that activities, you've probably noticed by now, all 7 domains show up in the activity F tag. And I think it makes that pretty significant to let us know that activities are everyone's responsibility. They happen, an activity can happen when someone, a care partner from the kitchen comes down and plays cards with someone, or just has a conversation with them. So again, let's think about some of the ways that we can bring more meaning and some of the things that we do that reduce that meaning. And again, what just the arrangement of things in someone's room. Is it so that it's convenient for the employee care partner to get things, or is it so that I can see a straight line from my bed, I can see the picture of my family? And some of those. Growth, we really want to focus a little bit on growth and the fact that people of all ages and abilities have to continue to develop and evolve. So longevity itself gives forth its own promise and potential. So we have to continue to develop and to grow. So again, surveyors have asked them about their goals. What about their strengths, their dreams, their goals? Are you capturing those? Do you have a make-a-wish? Do you have you worked with any of your elder care partners to see what's on their bucket list? And can we make some of those dreams and their goals come come through. How does a care partner team work together to work on that? So can you work together even sometimes to work with employee care partners to meet their goals? And again, what opportunities are there for everybody to get new life experiences, new knowledge? Again, that kind, and those types of things. So let's look a little bit at care planning and the regulation that ties to this and talks about person-centered care. By the way, the term person-centered appears 92 times in the regulations. So if we look at the baseline care plans, I'm not going to go through this. You all know the 6 things that have to be in there. But, you know, are we making sure that they are person-centered? So even if we go back and we look at individual goals, this is asking the elder what they want. What are their choices? What are their goals? And then you can go through all the rest of those and add some of that into. And it's the same way with regular care plans. I have noticed that as I look on the CMS website and at the top 10 citations across the nation, it has been consistent since the implementation of the new regulations that comprehensive care plans and revision of care plans is in the top 10. And most of the time it is because the elder has not really been involved in this. So what does it say? In consultation with the resident and their representative, we have to have their goals for during their admission. What kind of outcomes do they want? We have to have their preferences, especially for discharge. And so again, they have to be meaningful to the resident. And that's why Eden calls them growth plans rather than care plans, because we're really helping someone to grow into the potential that they want to be, to meet their goals and to evolve. And I know that sometimes it's difficult to wrap my head around the idea that an elder living with advanced stages or more advanced dementia can still grow, but they can. And I just have to search for what is their, how are they expressing themselves, and what kinds of things really are meaningful to them, and what might they want to be doing. So it might take a little more interpretation, but I can find it. So the very last one is joy. And when we talk about joy, we really are looking at something that someone is not going to have 24/7. Joy is that elusive dimension of human experience. Sometimes it is in response to a specific experience, such as the birth of a child. Sometimes they're just happy moments. And so one of the best ways to understand joy is, and the role this emotion can play in our experience, is to become aware of how often it sneaks up on us. Joy are moments that catch us by surprise. You can't say at 2:30 this afternoon, I'm going to experience joy. Efforts to try to make people create joy for people are doomed to failure. You know, you're going to find joy when you have deep relationships that are meaningful. And it's in those meaningful ways that we can find ways to create moments of joy. So there's not going to be, like I said, it's not going to be a 24/7 kind of thing, but it's going to be there. So again, in that very first day, they're going to be asking them a lot more questions, and they all can tie back to F tag. So they're asking them about all of the things that are on the screen. In addition to all of these, but really what their bottom line is asking them is, are you happy here? And, should we at least not be doing that much? And as you talk to others and you really look at it, this is what we should be doing, and we can be asking the same questions. If you go through and you look at all of the long-term care survey interview questions, if you go through and look at some of their observations and all those critical element pathways, they're giving us the tools to measure this and to connect all of these senses of identity together. And what they do with especially when they finish the interviews, there's a column on the sheet, or actually it's in their computer. They're going to check further investigation, no issue, or MDS discrepancy. So if we've built on these domains of well-being, and our care plans and our conversations focus around improving each of the domains of well-being, and I've actually seen care plans where they put the domain that this focus area is referring to and how we're going to strengthen it. If you have all of this, you may not have many survey issues. They aren't being pulled just because they have an MDS indicator anymore. I actually recently was at a home that had recently had their survey, and what had happened was they finished the first day and they did all of the resident interviews, they did all of the observations, and they came to the administrator and director of nursing and said, everybody's happy. After we've put all of the information into the computer, they're telling us there's no further issues to investigate. So all they still had to do were some of the tasks, like there was still the kitchen observation to be done, and med pass and infection control and some of those. But they had no elder issues to go forward and look at because their elders were happy. So again, and they have been focusing on everybody becoming very well known and being secure, and they use these tools to assure that. We did provide you with a handout that will let you look at well-being of first yourself. And again, this is something that after you watch this presentation, you can use. You have to be strong and you have to have well-being yourself. This is a place where we have to become selfish and look at this and create your own well-being first. And then start looking at your care partners. And there's 5 different columns on there. You don't have to fill them all out right away. They could be part of your plan to begin to build well-being for yourself and all of the care partners that you interact with every day. So I've mentioned all of this, so I'm going to sort of put it all together really quick. So how do for the survey process and for the regulations, yes, they still are pulling the offsite sample and looking at which elders have triggered quality measures for these different pieces. But again, um, as you go through these, you can figure out who they're going to be also. We need to work with our employee care partners because throughout the survey, they're going to also be asked many of these questions. If you'd like to know more about the domains of well-being, this is the link to the white paper that explains more about them. Um, Here are the references that I used for this, along with the obviously the F tags, the Appendix PP. So I want to thank you all for attending this session. I would really appreciate it if you gave us some feedback on this session. Go to session C4 on the Pioneer Network app and use the rating to provide feedback for both this and the guide. And please also use this to communicate questions to me, or you can use my email, which I didn't put on a slide. So my email is V as in Vicky, B as in boy, URLEW at Rolf, ROLF Consulting, and that's all one word. So it'd be at ROLF CONSULTING.com. I will be glad to offer more resources, answer any questions that you have. And again, thank you for attending this. I am so sorry that I am not at the conference in person.